we're going to wrap up the drawing and painting tools with the pencil tool and the blob brush. And you guys have the turtle drawing that you'll be doing with the pencil tool and the blob brush. And you have this little cartoon character guide that you'll be doing with just the blob brush, right? So any of these you could have done with any of the tools, but for each of these you're just going to be assigned to practice based on one of those three. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that you'll need to know for the pencil tool. So again, you're going to have the template that comes of the drawing, and you're going to use that to base your line design on. So you want to have at least one layer that is for the lines, one layer for the body, and then we'll talk about how you can do something kind of fun for the background. Let's see, like this. All right, so you can see the layers I have there. Okay, so the body I just did with a blob brush. So I'll do just a little bit with you guys here. So if I grab another layer here and name it, I'll name it lines right now. Pencil tool, again, shortcut is N. And you can always double click on this pencil tool and just tell how smooth you want it to be. Just a reminder of that, leave that alone. You know, I tend to like it a little bit towards the smooth midpoint, a little bit more close to fidelity, depending on what I'm drawing with. That's how true your movements are and how it will capture, right? So this means more anchor points, less anchor points. So again, less anchor points, more anchor points for both. So you can play with the settings. You can change it as you're drawing as well. All right, so as you're drawing, doing your best to keep true to what you are drawing, right? So you don't have to go over as much and edit or clean up. Now the nice thing about the pencil tool is that you can draw and stop, and as long as it's selected, I can just pick right back up and keep going, right? Even if I go the wrong way, as long as it's selected, I can go right over and clean that up, right? And so again, you do need to think in shapes. So thinking, you know, this is a shape, that's a shape, right? So that you can end your shapes. So again, just like the pen tool, you want to end where you start so that you have one shape, right? So if I wanted to, I could select this, right? And if I wanted to, I could fill this, okay? But right now we just want the outline, so everything has an outline. And you can see I changed the fidelity a little bit and that added more anchor points. So I'm just going to go back in with my smooth tool and have that get smoothed out. And the smooth tool makes it smooth by decreasing anchor points, sometimes shifting them around. So I'm going to click off. So there's my first line. Back to my pencil tool. I'm going to change the setting a little bit. We're going to do this spiral here. And again, I recommend doing this with a tablet so that it feels more like how you would draw on paper. You can see I want that to be a little bit closer to that line. So I draw more towards the outside, okay? If I need it to come more towards the inside, I would draw more towards the inside. From the line there. There you go. All right. So again, this needs to go more in, so I would draw more towards the inside. And that line will follow. Okay, so if you ever need to end, just command click, just like the pen tool, and then you can just keep going. All right, so you guys will find out what settings you like. Command click. I'm going to grab my direct select tool. Because these all are anchor points, everything can be moved. You can use the minus or plus anchor point, and as long as you are clicking on the anchor point, you can delete. So that was the handle. When you click on the anchor point, it highlights, right? So that was the handle, not the handle, but the anchor point. And because they're anchor points, they will respond to the smooth tool, right? Okay, so once you have drawn your lines, so let's imagine that you are here, then you're going to add another layer that goes below the lines, right? And this is the body color. And we're just going to do a quick intro to the blob brush using the body color. So that is Shift B. So you'll be doing this file in all blob brush, but doing a little practice with this. So just like Photoshop, the brush can be changed with size, right bracket larger, left bracket smaller, and just like the pencil tool, you can double click it and change settings, including the size, the angle, and how round. So the stroke here for it to be painted in. Now, one thing you need to know is it kind of paints like, you know, a coloring book would. But what happens when you're using the blob brush is it's making one object. So it's making a vector shape, meaning that I can go to the selection tool and select this and move it like an object. All right. Now, those lines are showing up on top because the layer's on top. And because this is an object, I could do something like use the eraser tool and clean some of things up, right? And I'm in that layer, or that shape is selected. So only that shape would be erased, not the lines, even though it might look like it, right? Okay, so Shift B back to the blob brush. So you'll be painting in and maybe even cleaning up your blob brush design with the eraser tool. But just keeping in mind that you need to have it in its own layer. All right. So this was my completed example. How did I do that pattern? One more layer. It's the very bottom one. And all it is rectangle shape. You're going to go to your swatches and grab a patterns. This is what I did. You can do whatever you'd like. And pick a fill of your choice that you think works. Now, you can always make these larger. These can be tough to see. Top right here. Let's say large. Okay, and you can also play with having multiple. So I might choose that pattern. And then I'm just going to make a copy of this by holding Alt Option and choose this color here. But I want these to work together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the darker blue one that's on top. And in the transparency panel, go to blend modes, which you should recognize from Photoshop, and play with the blend modes. See which ones work well. All right, and you can also, see if it makes any difference. All right, so once you're complete, painted body, blob brush, drawn body lines, pencil, and maybe a pattern background or a solid color background, at least 3 layers, just like this. You're gonna take a screenshot of that and submit it. And then for the last one, since we talked about the blob brush, won't take as much time. you're going to get a drawing like this, and then you are only using the blob brush. So Shift B, or grab this tool here, and then just getting in the hang of managing the fill or the stroke that you're setting and the width, okay? So the blob brush can draw lines, even though it's going to act like a vector shape. So when I zoom in, it's not just a line, it has anchor points. So if I were to grab my direct select, I can play with that. Okay. So it's a little different than just like a line tool. But you'll have at least a couple layers. You'll see you have the outline layer that you'll do in the blob brush, whatever color you'd like, to go over the drawing, right? And then here's my completed example here. So I had one that was the sky or background, and then you just kind of keep everything that you're going to use as a fill, like the skin tone, the hair color, the clothes color, etc. Either in their own layer below, or just make sure that when you're drawing them, they're showing up below the lines in that layer. So as you're going with the blob brush, just a couple tips I would give you guys is to remember that you can double click on it and change the angle of it. So you can go up here and click right here. You can grab this arrow and change how it's going to be positioned. Hit OK, and then you have a little bit of a different look, right? So you might want more of a calligraphic look, and that's how you can achieve that. And I think that was all I was going to tell you guys. You don't have to do as much as my example, but you should have a background. You should have everything filled in and have some line designs. All right, you can copy this if you'd like. You don't have to have the shadows or highlights like I do. But play around with that. And then just so you know, some simple things like these eyes, that was done with a round blob brush, so it was not altered. And then you just find the size. And again, just like we used the eraser tool, so there's the iris, and then Shift E, eraser tool. Think of the eraser tool like a brush as well. Find the size, and then just erase. So that's some quick, simple ways of working, not having to fill in. Okay, so keep that in mind as you guys are going, how that can be easier. And then take a screenshot, submit it, and then you'll be done. You'll be ready to move on using these tools on your own.